You can do all your planning and then suddenly something happens. So suddenly David Warner is not available. Warner was a fantastic captain for you over the years. He was giving you 500 runs every year. How do you budget for that? How do you suddenly plan and say our number one batsman is not there? You have to look for a new captain, you have to look for a new enforcer.
Yeah, I think that's where the character and the personality of the persons involved comes out. And luckily for us, that's something which we already, not that we expected David Warner not to be there, but that's something which we factored in, because there were a lot of leaders within the group. And one of the reasons we got Kane back into the team was, even though he was not the captain, or even though he didn't play as many games as he would have loved or we would have loved, because there are only 4 overseas players you can fit in the playing 11. But Kane was a leader within the group. You know, the amount of respect he had, even when Warner was the captain, he was one of the core members of the group. Then you had Shikhar, then you got Shakib, who's an experienced captain and experienced player himself. So there were a lot of options available. But the most important thing, more than the captaincy, because there were options as far as captaincy was concerned, but we felt that Kane, being an experienced captain for New Zealand in all the 3 formats, a very good leader, very good communicator, he fit in the bill. But what was important was, how do we get a replacement for David Warner, the batsman? Because if you see the bulk of the runs of Sunrisers, the majority of the runs, high percentage of runs were scored by Warner. So that was an important thing. And again, Kane took that responsibility. You know, Shikhar, yes, even though still I feel that he can do much better, but you saw even in the first couple of games before he got his elbow injury, he took his game to the another level. And that's when the character of the players comes to the fore, you know, because when you have a problem, when you have a issue, it's not about thinking or brooding over the problem, it's about finding the solution. And we felt that we found the solution.
You know, Warner for Australia has a certain image, and Warner for Sunrisers has a completely different image. How do you adjust such fiery people, and they're very different when they play for the franchise? How do you manage that difference?
I think, I'm not sure what he is like in the Australian setup, you know, but as far as the Sunrisers setup is concerned, he's been a very inspirational figure. Even before he was the captain, he used to always contribute in the team meetings. He took responsibility as being one of the best in the world as a batsman. He used to interact really good, and that's something which is very important, especially from the senior players, whether it's overseas players or your Indian international players, how they look after the young uncapped players.
So
how
the
they share
temper
their
outburst that you see in Australia, you never saw.
Never ever saw. And also credit to Tom Moody, you know, the coach, because I felt that Tom Moody really handled him well and got the best out of him. But to be fair to Warner, you know, he's been a sensational leader for us, inspirational figure for us, you know, and an amazing captain, you know, because yes, he's a brilliant batsman, but I thought that he had that tactical acumen also, which surprised me initially, because whatever I've heard from the other franchise where he was before, the stories you read from the Australian camp, he was totally different, you know, and I believe that he had a lot of discipline, and he led from front and led by example.